Hello everyone, what is up? Hopefully you guys are having an amazing day. Today we're going to be talking about what's happening with XRP in the XRP community. Now XRP is at 21 cents. If we go to J9 Dalton Suite, 4 hours from now, we will head to a new candle. After the test, the white line in the last 24 hours within 3 days, we'll break the red line beautifully, and then we'll wait for the halving to start. If we go down here, I do believe this is the chart he's referencing. We can see that. Now guys, before we jump into the news, I like to say I'm not a financial advisor, nor is financial advice, just for entertainment value only. Ripple tweeted out, Ripple CTO David Schwartz shares a sneak peek of topics and guests joining Block Stars podcast.
Hello listeners, I'm David Schwartz, Ripple CTO and XRP Ledger co-founder. I'm excited to share that I'm hosting Ripple's new podcast series, Block Stars. Each episode will educate you on the basics of the technology and share real-world problems being solved today and what you can expect tomorrow. We'll also discuss industry topics like sustainability and the Bitcoin halving event. The podcast features crypto and blockchain technology leaders, including Binance.us CEO Catherine Coley, BRD CEO Adam Trademan, and Berkeley economist Barry Eichengreen, just to name a few. We'll also be featuring Ripple's own Block Stars. See what I did there? Like our co-founder and executive chairman Chris Larson and vice president of global institutional markets Brianne Madigan. Make sure to follow Ripple on Twitter @Ripple for frequent updates on the Block Stars launch and where to subscribe. See you around the blockchain.
The next two we have from David Schwartz, Blockstar launches tomorrow. Hear from our friends. And then Chris Larson, great chat with my friend Ripple CTO David Schwartz on the new Blockstars podcast. It has launched today. Blockstars, how digital assets will help create a sustainable global economy. So let's just listen to a few minutes of this podcast right here.
Welcome to Block Stars, Ripple's podcast that features leaders in crypto and blockchain to discuss the basics of these technologies, the current landscape, and the real-world problems being solved. I'm your host, Ripple CTO and XRP Ledger co-founder David Schwartz, and I'm joined today with Ripple co-founder and executive chairman Chris Larson. Great to have you on our first episode.
Thanks, David. It's great to be here.
You announced on Twitter that you had tested positive for the coronavirus, for COVID-19. We're recording this remotely. It's April 2020. We're in the midst of a shelter-in-place order and a global pandemic. We're very happy to hear that you've recovered and are doing well. What was that like?
Well, thanks for asking. And by the way, it's a good thing we didn't, first meet this way, remotely like this, because I don't know if we would have ever worked together. So much better in person. But I appreciate, having me here today. It was a weird thing, having gone through having COVID-19. Lasted for about 2 weeks. Luckily, my wife and I both had it. We were able to just stay at home. Maybe 1 or 2 scary days, around day 10. It's kind of typically what you hear, where breathing got a little bit tough. We've since fully recovered, which is great. Our doctor let us out of isolation, so now we're merely in sheltering, not much difference. Our kids never got sick, and we were even able to give blood recently because some of the hospitals, they do need some of the antibody blood to help other patients and do some tests on new treatments. So it was good to do that. We encourage other people that have recovered to do the same. There's going to be a big need for that.
We're so glad to hear that you're back at full strength.
Thank you.
In November of 2011, I started working on what became the XRP Ledger, the distributed ledger that implements the decentralized digital asset XRP. Chris Larson joined the project in 2012. Can you take us back to the dawn of the cryptocurrency era? So 2008, markets collapsed. Lehman Brothers had fallen. There was high unemployment, housing foreclosures, this sort of unshakable feeling of fear and mistrust that the financial system had led us astray. Can you explain how that led to what we now consider the dawn of crypto with the Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper and what that paper promised?
Yeah, I know that a lot of the crypto kind of community looks at Satoshi's white paper as really the beginning. I would actually argue that this has been something that, people have been dreaming about for a lot longer than that. If you go back, you can go back even 20 years now, there was models like Beans and Floors. Obviously, they were not as effective or successful as Bitcoin proved to be, but they were kind of this continuation of kind of this desire to have this global currency that wasn't strictly controlled by governments. And then, of course, you had things like Linden Dollars, which was in Second Life, I think something that inspired a lot of people. We looked at that very closely because, again, we had been talking about this idea of global currencies that were not controlled by governments for a very long time. A lot of people were talking about them. Folks like Kitao Sun, the CEO of SBI, remember.
Now, that was a short glimpse of the first episode right here. I'll leave all the links down in the description below if you guys would like to check it out. From Crypto Jeremy. 300 companies, one currency. What else is needed to be said? Nothing. We can see right here. Look at this, guys. Look at all of these companies. Isn't that? And then there's the Ripple Net again. Next week comes from Boy XRP.
Generally, if you sort of zoom out, do you feel like, the level of innovation in these areas is a little bit like we kind of play a little bit of catch up in the US compared to Europe in these areas?
No, I don't think we play catch up at all. I mean, I think, in general, we have more evolved markets. And when you have more evolved markets, you tend to want to be a little bit more careful in how they change. I mean, I think the US is really the leader in really a lot of technology and engineering and everything else. There are big markets where, kind of there's nothing, and it's a lot easier to start these things, and whether it was China or India or other things when you're starting from scratch. Now, I will make one comment, okay? And this is something we need to balance on innovation. So there was a lot of things I had a lot of experience coming into government with. The one area I had no experience, and I'm happy to say I had no experience, and I kind of got a crash course PhD in, was sanctions. So at Treasury, we manage all the sanctions programs, and I probably spend half my time on this. And sanctions are very important. Combating financial terrorism is very important. So one of the things I think of as we talk about innovation is in the United States, kind of we have our anti-money laundering laws apply, okay, to whether it's crypto assets or wallets and things like that. I think we got to be careful as we talk about innovation, and we got to strike the right balance of kind of making sure that our financial system isn't used for bad purposes with creating enough innovation that we don't have bureaucracy around that.
Thank you.
Good morning.
There you go, guys. Regulations will come, it looks like, very soon. Once again from Boy XRP. That's exactly what I hear when I listen to people say banks aren't going to use XRP.
It was actually the CEO of DEC, the leader in microcomputers, famously said, "It is a horrible waste of computing power to actually put a PC on every desktop," right? Now, the only thing left of DEC is actually their credit union, which I find very ironic. And then Bill Gates made the same mistake, though, which he said when Jobs came out with the first tablet, the Newton, he laughed. He said, "That's foolery. People aren't going to use a tablet. It doesn't even have a keyboard. You can't do that." Guess what? PC's market share is falling. Now most of us actually do it on that little phone. Now,
the future of banking, guys. Now, guys, where's the fun part of XRP in the XRP community? Now, this is quite interesting. Morningstar tweeted out, "I see a lot of people talking about shorting XRP. My question to you is why? So why are people shorting XRP?" Once again from Morningstar, "I believe something is going to happen mid-May. It's all right in front of you. I'm not an insider or a jester. I am here to guide you to what you already see. The US is bankrupt. They are printing money into oblivion. Please open your eye." Not the Bitcoin halving. So something should happen in mid-May this month, again in May. Next week comes from Marvin. We can see X and then 2020. Something on 17 May and September 9th. The final tip for today's video comes from Baba Cugs. He says nothing happens in May. All the answers you seek are right in front of you. You guys can pause the video and look at this right here. But there's lots of different things a lot of people are saying. Some people are saying, we should be close. Who knows what's going to happen, honestly. But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, please leave a like, subscribe if you guys haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully you guys are having an amazing day. And yeah, guys, see ya.
There's a documentary coming out in the next few months that alludes to the greatest of all time. The greatest wealth creator of all fucking time since Moses. I wonder who they're talking about. I've created billions, tens of billions, hundreds of millions, billions, tens of billions, and hundreds of billions. And there's no other swinging dick on the planet that can say that. Since fucking Moses, before Moses. Perhaps that's why you're here. Perhaps not. If you leave here liking me, I didn't do my job. I'm going to say it again. If you leave here liking me, I failed. I'm going to insult you, whether you're black, brown, yellow, or pink. Whether you're a Jew, a Muslim, a Catholic, or a Protestant. Whether you're agnostic. I take no prisoners. And as our lovely daughter would say, Kelly Pena, she says, Daddy treats everybody the same, like shit. This is the beginning of the greatest economic cycle this country has had since World War II. And I knew the things that Donald would do. And he hasn't even fucking got started. But this is the eye of the motherfucking storm. The perfect storm. It ain't never going to get any fucking better. Never. This is perfect for the QLA model. If I could have written the motherfucker a prescription or a formula, I couldn't have written it any better. Low interest rates. Money's free. You stupid fucks. Massive chaos. And Donald's going to rip the motherfucking economy apart. And he's going to fuck it for practice in a good way. This is it. It ain't never going to get any fucking better. This is like a multiple orgasm the rest of your life, you fucking slags that are in the audience. This is it.
Sometimes I don't want to hear what Dan has to tell me. But as I wrote in one of my blogs, the old man, he's always right. Because he's telling you what you don't want to hear about yourself, but what you know is true. And that is, you're not stepping yourself up. You're not stepping your game up. And you get caught up in fear. As Dan says, false expectations appearing real.